Hi everyone, welcome back to my vlog channel. This week we are going to be discussing Chapter 10 in the Rhetorical Act and also discussing reading pop culture. In Chapter 10 of the Rhetorical Act, talks about the opportunities and challenges accepted arising from the rhetor. So the power of the rhetor's character or ethos becomes more understandable if we can comprehend the meaning of the ancient term behind ethos. So ethos means credibility. We also touched upon the topics of reputation, appearance, introduction of oneself, the context, as well as the occasion. And it also discusses the topics of identification, social power, participation, and interrelationships. And within those, we tie into the essays with reading pop culture. So in Chapter 2 of Reading Pop Culture, we discover the idea of identity. It is stated that the importance of identity is that our identities are constructed and mediated socially and publicly. So the first essay we're going to be going over is called An Argument for Being a Poser by Liz Armstrong, and she focuses on the idea that everyone is posing to be someone else to feel a sense of what could be individuality and identity. She claims that every day in this society, you're faced with the decision to decide what kind of person you want to be and what kind of person you are. In her essay, she talks about her own experiences, about how she felt like she couldn't fit in with the different groups around her in her community. But her overall message was basically about seeing that it's okay to be yourself, and it doesn't matter what kind of person you are because people are going to have an opinion about it, whatever you choose. And I agree with her because I think the message that she puts out is important, that you should just be who you are and be who you want to be because people are going to have an opinion either way, so might as well give them an opinion that you feel comfortable in. And the second essay by Raquel Cepeda, The N-Word is Flourishing Among Generation Hip-Hop Latinos, Why Should We Care Now? It's about the use of the N-word in the Latino community and how it's affecting the society around. The Latino community is using this word in their music, and it's circling throughout the streets as people are beginning to use it while singing and listening to the music. In her essay, she's writing about how it's wrong for the female Latina to say the N-word and should not even, they shouldn't even use the excuse like, oh, it's in the music, it's in the song, because it still has the same connotation to it. Personally, I agree with her because even though it's just a word for some people, the word holds history and a strong, hurtful meaning behind it. It's too powerful and should not be used in the same category as entertainment. In the third essay, The End of White America by Hua Su, he writes about the start of the white America diminishing. He claims that white people are becoming the minority rather than the majority. It's seen today that there is a major cultural increase of all kinds of races within America. It is not a white America anymore. He also makes statements about before in the early 2000s, it was artists like Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys who are both white artists, and they ran the music game. But today, however, it's mostly Latino artists who run the entertainment/music industry as well as other races. He claims that the younger generation is now encouraged to take part and remake their own image and their own cultures. It's simply not the end of necessarily a white America, but a bridge that has been crossed to a cultural America. I agree with him because America has definitely changed from a white-centered country to a more cultural and racial accepting place. We see a lot of more diverse entertainment in the industry as well as ordinary people that we see every day. In the fourth reading pop culture essay, which is titled The Sports Taboo by Malcolm Gladwell, he's arguing the idea that depending on on the race you are, identifies the kind of athlete you are supposed to be. So he explains that there's a subtle rule that whites are good at this sport and blacks are good at this sport. It's an unwritten rule, but almost everyone knows about it. And personally, I find it frustrating and infuriating that even after hundreds of years of torturing and unpleasant experiences, even today, blacks are being treated differently in the sports community. In his essay, he also explains the differences between the muscle mass between the average white male and the average black male, which in this case explains why you're the athlete you are. In my opinion, I would have to disagree with Gladwell. I think, yes, there are similarities in why some athletes who are the same race participate in one sport, but I don't think it has anything to do with race. I do not like the idea of pinpointing the type of athlete someone is based on their race, and it shouldn't be about race. It should just be about what you're interested in. And in the fifth essay, Impression Management in a Network Setting by Dana Boyd, she talks about how many people are uneducated about how to connect through network sites, through social media. She explains that part of what makes impression management so tricky is that the contexts in which teens are operating are also networked. She also explains how teens are trying to find themselves in today's world and are having trouble trying to make sense of the different social contexts and present themselves appropriately. However, it's clear that the internet still has not evolved for people are free from the limitations on the embodied world. Teens are still struggling today to find themselves and where they belong in today's society. I agree with Boyd on this topic because the internet is so judgmental about everything one puts out there. There's also a sense of perfect image that is set throughout the internet. Of course, teens are going to try and look the best when presenting themselves online. And overall, the reading pop culture talks about identity, and it's the one thing that people look for in today's world, but they try to find their own identity. And throughout all the different essays, they touch upon the different instances of race and identity presented in all types of different people. From who you are, whether it's race or age, it doesn't matter. Every person in the world is trying to figure themselves out and discover where they fit into pop culture. So that was Chapter 2 of Reading Pop Culture and Chapter 10 in the Rhetorical Act. Come back next week for more reading pop culture essays and more messages between why we use rhetoric.